Okay, good afternoon everybody. Welcome to the stream. And helps if I push the right buttons when I'm doing things. Ah dear. And one of these days I'll have to reorganise all those keys as well. So let me just move this camera so it points at my face for once. Actually see if I can get it to point at my face rather than just vaguely somewhere in front of me. Hello. And right, now then, we're going to continue making this chain, which is a bit long, so I've got to shorten it. This is a necklace, and I'm going to need 1.5, 2.5, 3.5 inches, 17.5 inch necklace. So that's 14 inches. So this needs to be 7, 14, 15, 16, 17.5. Okay. So this wants to be 7 inches long. Which means it needs to be a bit longer, not shorter. That's good to know. I thought I might have to shorten it. So let me get out these rings. These are dear. These are a few rings that I prepared yesterday. These are all closed. Definitely need something like a small spoon for this. I thought this container would be quite a good idea. It's not in practice. It looks pretty. And it's good, I guess, for holding a few rings, like I'm doing here. But it won't hold a significant number of them. I can only hold about 300 in each little pocket. And when it comes to getting them out, I either need something like a little tiny spoon, I think, like an ice cream spoon, that sort of thing, that you get in the shop. You know, when you get like a tub or something like that in a shop, you get a little tiny spoon, or a bit like the fork you get in a fish and chip shop in the UK, something like that, or yeah, that sort of spoon. So I need a few more rings, which I'm going to have to open. We will also be changing colour shortly. Now for the minute I just need one block and then we change colour. Just Jessup, good evening. I say good afternoon. It's not an evening yet, is it? Good afternoon. I am making some jewellery this afternoon. How do you get on with Train Simulator last night? You were of course trying it out for the first time. It can be a little bit frustrating when you first start because there is actually so much to learn. But hopefully it's proving fun. Now then, okay, I only need one block of this orange before I change colour, so what I ought to do is prep the colour change as well. So we'll do that. So I need an inch, so that's 24 silver, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 silver, and I need 18 blue. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Oh dear. You tried to stream and it shut down. Was it overheating, or it just something? Or it's something to do with attempting to stream, or just a random thing? Just Jessup. I'm going to open half of these and close half of these. So this 24, so 12 open, 12 closed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it looks like it sounds like it's overheating. If it only does it while you're streaming. 6. Well, you can get a few if you don't already have them for your motherboard. You can get some freeware temperature monitors that'll monitor your motherboard temperature, tell you what's happening with that. That's worth doing. And it'll give you some indication if your CPU is overheating and shutting down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Is it a laptop or a desktop that you've got? I mean, it's 20 to 30 minutes. Sounds like, you know, it does sound like heat, as it's building up heat and it can't get rid of it fast enough. Certainly, I'd be, I'd kind of be suggesting that you check that the fan grills are all clean and that all the fans that should be running are running. And obviously after about 15 minutes of streaming, I'm guessing all of your fans should be running. And then if it's a desktop and it's still, yeah, you should be able to cool them though. Enough for the thing to run flat out continuously. So check all your fans are running, especially when it gets hot. You know, attempt to stream for 10 or 15 minutes, and then see check that all your fans are running, because I would have expected them all to be at that point. And is it a stock fan on your CPU cooler? Because if it is, then there's a couple of things. Obviously, one is whether or not there's sufficient heat compound on there. Though if it's a stock fan, they generally speaking will be, but it may well be just that the stock fan can't keep up. What you might need to do is consider a secondary, an aftermarket fan cooler combination. And of course you've got a couple of choices when you do that. Just as a straight airbound CPU cooler, there's quite a few out there, or you can get closed loop water cooling systems with an attached radiator. And they supposedly, I say supposedly because I've no idea, I haven't tried them myself, work really well. Might be a little bit, well, unfortunately I guess any sort of decent CPU cooler is a little bit pricey, relatively speaking, but I suspect if you're having problems streaming and it's shutting down on you, then it's likely if you play an intensive game you'd have the same problem. It's probably a stock fan then, I guess. Stock either Intel or AMD, whichever CPU it is you've got, fan. They're not really intended for the CPU. The fact the stock fans are not really intended for CPUs to run flat out all the time. They're kind of built for sort of desktop type, desktop office type things, where people are they don't particularly do anything intensive. I mean, unless it was sold as a gaming rig, but even then. So it might be worth the investment of a better fan. But I'd check it. Check as well that it's not got a lot of dust wrapped in it, because they do pick up a lot of dust, and it is surprising just how much gets in around the on the CPU cooler. And just vacuuming that out, you should be able to normally unclip the fan. So unclip the fan. And vacuum the fins out, because you can the dust can really build up in those, and if the dust is built up in them, then it won't be cooling properly, because there'll be no airflow along the fins, especially if you've had it for a fair while. So that would be something that's worth doing. And if a vacuum doesn't get the dust out, a paintbrush works quite well for doing that. Make sure your fans are clean as well. They often get dust caked on the fins. Now it doesn't make a bigger difference if you clean those, but it does reduce the fan efficiency if they're also dirty. Okay. 2, 4, 6. So all I'm doing here at the moment is just preparing some additional rings for the pattern. So there's blue and silver rings going into the pattern. There we go. So just pre-preparing them in advance. That way when I come to start to weave them actually into the chain, it'll go fairly quickly, and it'll be a little bit more interesting to watch. But it does mean in the meantime, I'm afraid you're stuck with watching me open and close rings. It's an integral part of this sort of jewellery making, though, is doing that. So I do need to get another set of pliers. You hear that click, as you might just have heard there. That's good. That's a good sound, not a bad sound. That sound means I have I've closed the rings up really well. It's the ring snapping past itself. And what it means basically is I've got it about as tight as I can get it. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 2, 4, 6, 8. 9, 10, 11. I'm missing a blue ring, so I want another ring out. Yeah. Obviously I can't count, since I did count these. Either or one has magically escaped somewhere of its own accord. So I shall get myself another one out of my case of pretty rings. So these cases are only slightly practical, but they don't have look pretty with all the colours in. Even if the camera can't quite represent the purples properly, because this one here looks like a really dark blue, but is actually a dark purple. It's a lovely rich purple, and there's a light purple or lavender here, which looks like a light blue in by this camera. But just close this ring up, and then I shall do a bit of weaving, and then we'll need to open some more rings. Okay, so I wanted there we go. Let me open. Oh no, I don't need to. I need to put another section on here on this chain. It needs to be 7 inches long, and then I attach some blue and silver. No, silver, then blue, then silver, and then we go back to the orange, and that so I'll then add another 7 inches of orange, I think it is. So that'll be 14, 2.5. No. Yeah, I've got to add this up right. Seven, 8, 9.5, 10.5. This wants to be a 17.5 inch base necklace. So 17.5. I've got to do these maths right, otherwise it's going to look wrong, of course, because the coloured wants to be in the centre. So 17.5. The centre eye is 1 inch. The silver either side is 1.5 inches, so that's 3.5, or 17.5 is 14. So yeah, 7. Ah dear. And just to think, I got an A level in maths. I got a grade 1 A level in maths. And here I am, I'm not able to actually sort of do maths. We'll see if we can finish this on this stream. If we do, I might have a go at doing a different sort of weave, one that I've not tried before. Maybe a half Persian weave perhaps. Now then, that should, in theory, have added enough to make that 7 inches, which it is. Give or take a tiny bit, but that's close enough. So now I want to add silver. So I want 3 sections of silver. And then I go and add sky blue to it. Which will make the pattern that I'm after. Now I've got to make sure I don't get that ring in the middle. There we go. Let's try zooming that in a little bit. Might make it a little bit easier for you to see what I'm doing. I'll try and keep things, it in shot. So this is my first section of silver. It's a lovely shiny silver is this. I half suspect it's probably shinier than sterling silver would be. But I can't afford to go out and buy sterling silver to find out. Unless somebody wants to commission me to make one out of sterling silver. Okay, so next just suddenly as I thought then I probably couldn't count and I got the wrong number of silver rings out as well, but we'll see. I know the pattern I'm after. If I haven't got enough rings out I'll just have to get some more. I've got plenty of them for this particular necklace anyway. So that's 2 sections of silver. We then go into the blue. So what this is an eye, representation of an eye. For the person that's bought this, the eye is meant to be a pussycat eye in a ginger face. Hence the orange, followed by the silver for the white of the eye, and then the blue in the centre for the pupil. It could also be a Greek eye as well. The Greeks have a symbol which is always reminds me of a fried egg, but with a blue yolk instead of yellow, and that's supposed to bring good luck. You know what, I'm just getting myself a toothpick or a cocktail stick, whichever you want to describe it as. I use these a heck of a lot for mixing paints, but as I'm using slightly larger pliers, previously I've used a pair of needle nose pliers as opposed to these chain nose as they're called. And the needle nose pliers I can actually get, they've got a finer nose on them basically, so I can get in amongst the rings with them and do that, which allows me just to form the shape I'm after, and then I can pull that out, and it makes it easier to get the rings in. It just means I keep having to swap between the cocktail stick and these pliers. But these are actually better pliers than the needle noses that I was using before, so although it means swapping pliers, it's actually better for the rings because they're larger pliers. I'm less likely to scratch them. Essentially, sometimes the rings just basically slip out of the pliers, and that's when they get scratched. Yeah. I don't want to scratch rings because they cost pennies. As in costing money. It's kind of I don't know if it's an English saying or a Yorkshire saying, but things cost pennies. We're talking about costing money, not literally costing pennies. You know, you smash your car and it's costing pennies. You don't get cars repaired for pennies. Two sections now. It was 3 sections of the blue. I obviously miscounted something because I wanted another 2 open rings and I haven't got them, but I've got the 6 rings out that I need, but so I just need to open up 2 of them. And they were nicely closed as well. Yeah, well, never mind. Have I done that? Right, yeah, I have. So second guessing myself as to whether or not I've done this right or not. No, I haven't. No, 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 no. So 3. No, right. Do I want to try and do that? Let's have a go. I'll try and split this apart right in the middle here. I want a longer section of silver on this. So what I'm going to try and do is leave that blue there so that I don't have to reweave that. And we'll put a bit more silver on. I want about an inch of silver. And I didn't quite have that there. Why can I not calculate? Oh, maybe I can. I don't know. Seems like I was when I prepped these rings right at the start of the stream. I thought I'd counted how many open I wanted and how many closed I wanted correctly. And it kind of looks like I didn't. I just don't seem to be able to count today. So is that an inch long? Close enough for what I want here. So now if I had 4 sections of blue, now let's see if I can put this back into there. And now for the challenging bit, which is going to be to get this ring in the middle. Ooh, that surprised me. That was easier than I thought it was going to be. I know closing it up isn't, because I haven't got a lot of space. But I managed it. There we go. So we've got 1, 2 sections of blue there. I want some more blue. So actually 1, 2, 3. I think at least 4. See how long that's going to be. Let's add another section of blue and we'll see just what that looks like. So I want another 4 rings. That's 3. And that's 4. So want these 4 open. I know where my moss was going wrong. Certainly with opening and closing rings, I want 2/3 of them open and 1/3 closed in this particular weave, which is why I've got more open than more closed than I wanted. So at least that's that maths problem solved. You see, even years after, still using maths that you learnt at school. Camera's a bit low, isn't it? Let's just do that. And my tendency to hold things up a little higher than the camera frame. If you see me doing that a lot, guys, just let me know, because I'm not watching the preview intensively. So if I start doing this off frame, then yeah, it's kind of defeats the object of broadcasting it. So let me know. Thank you. There we go. And okay, we'll be into silver in a minute, so let's just check whether that's how that's doing. So we're basically So that's about 2 inches. We're going to add another 3/4 of an inch. So that'll be 9 3/4, 16. And if I had the same 7, so that'd be 6. This wants to be 17.5 inch long bracelet. 17.5 inch. So that 1, 2 and 3/4. 14. That'd be 16.5. Why do I keep making a mistake? 17.5, 2.5, or 17.5 is 15. That means I want 7.5 inches. So that side is actually going to need to stretch a little bit, but that's adding some on that end. That's okay. We can deal with that later. So I want 1, 2, 3 sections of silver. So 3 sections of silver is 18 rings. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 there. I want another 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got 6 already closed, so these 12 all want to be open. Because hopefully I'm now doing my maths right and getting correctly 2/3 open, 1/3 closed. I'm just thinking I should have ordered another rose gold clasp for this, but actually I think no, this has got a silver T-bar on it. Okay. That's what they wanted, rather than a clasp, rather than a clasp rather than a lobster claw. They wanted a particular jewelled one that I've got. Now, just excuse me a minute, I'm going to open a window in here, it's getting a bit warm. Right, there's a tiny bit of a breeze, so hopefully that will blow through and will reduce the temperature a little bit here in the studio. This is making jewellery out of jump rings, as they're called. These are made out of aluminium and then anodized. And this there is often also known as chainmail. But generally speaking, if you say chainmail, most people will think that you're talking about armour, the sort of thing that knights of old used to wear underneath the either underneath or the plate metal, or in exposed areas where the plate metal didn't cover. Of course, there's nothing armour like this at all. This is purely decorative, of course, being jewellery. This is a Byzantine weave, as it gets called, method of putting the rings together. And this particular pattern, which is basically the way in which the colours are used, is meant to represent a pussycat, or an eye of a ginger pussycat. So we've got the orange of the fur, we've got the white of the eye, and we've got the blue of the pupil. Now, I know pupils are black, but the iris around the pupil. And just before I weave this pattern, I'm just going to prep a ring. There we go. This will just hold a weave in place whilst I measure. So a 16.5 inch necklace, 17.5 inch necklace is, if it was 18 it'd be 9, so that's 8 3/4 inches long. So the centre's 8 3/4 inch, which is there. Means I want at least another section on the end, this end here. So the orange section is a little bit short. Now, as with quite a lot of these chains, you can actually weave them almost any in from each end, which is nice. So to extend it, I don't have to do anything particularly fancy other than just weave another section on the end here. Okay, let's see if I've made that long enough. So 17.5 inch is 8 and 8 is 16, 8 and 3/4, which is there. Do I need another section on that? If that's that length there, then no, because by the time I put a single link on there in order to actually form the clasp, yeah, it'll be marginally longer, but that's okay. So that will form, yeah. So in actual fact, what I'm going to do is just open this ring I've just put on here, and I'm actually going to put the T. No, I'm not. I'm going to wait until I've finished, because if I put the T-bar on now, it doesn't matter. Do it now. I'm going to put the T on this end, so we'll just open that. Put that T on there. I'm actually thinking I may need to put an extra ring in there, but we shall see how that goes. Can that get through? Yes, it can. Does it sit properly? No, it doesn't. That does need an extra ring on the end. And then just a single one. Around those two, and to carry the clasp, that should thin it down a little bit so it sits nicely underneath the ring. When we put the other part on there and it sits like that, that's not that's okay. It sits reasonably nicely. I'm back. Did I miss you? I did wonder where you'd gone. I thought you must have gone down to the shops to buy this new headset that you were getting just Jessup. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24, 25, 26 sections. So for 26 sections I want 52 closed rings. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 25, 26, that's half of them, 27, 28. (29), 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 50, 53. One extra, so I'll put that over there, and right. So I've got to close all these rings, and then I've got to get 100 and more out and open them. You actually did. From Mapley. Okay. You must have a Mapley local to you then somewhere. It'd take me a bit longer than that to go to a local Mapley and get back. Useful the fact that they're open on Sundays though, if you want odd things like that. So I got about half the necklace done here now. And this now that the hard bit is effectively done, working out where to put the eye in the middle. So we're now just cruising to finish off the rest of the orange section. Okay. Yeah, down at the bottom end of Leeds on Roseville Road, is it? I think off the top of my head. I think I know where you mean. I think there's only one in Leeds. I've been in it when I've been to Leeds occasionally. So you're a Yorkshire lad as well. Well, that's an assumption I'm making, isn't it? You're a Yorkshire lad as well, just Jessup, but it does sound more like a male nickname. So if I'm wrong, please let me know. But so around that sort of area, if you're at secondary school, then that sounds like you're probably at Redillion Comprehensive School. If I remember rightly, that's sort of Leeds Bradford. Oh no, Leeds Bradford Wakefield. That's maybe a bit too far. That's more Leeds Bradford, is that, isn't it? I don't know about towards the Bradford end. Yeah, I won't go any further, otherwise I'll be working out where you actually live, and you probably don't want that out on stream, so I shall leave it at that. I was originally born in Leeds a long time ago, 50 odd years ago. Ah, Morley Academy. Okay. There used to be a model shop in Morley, right down in the dip, right in the I was going to say the centre, but I only ever went to the model shop. It used to be quite a good one as well. It's actually where I got my very first helicopter from, second hand. And that's got to be going on for almost 30 years ago now. Don't actually know if it's still there. Okay. I don't. Well, obviously, shops change names over years, so it's a bit difficult to tell. And very likely, the original owner has sold it. I only vaguely remember it being down at the bottom of a hill. Sort of so the hill, I think the hill came down and went up the other side, and then it was sort of like a Y shape, if you see what I mean, with a road coming off the bottom, but I really can't remember. I actually don't even know if it did have a name back then. We all just used to call it the Morley Model Shop because it was in Morley. There used to be the well, a long time ago, one in Merrion Street in Leeds, and the Leeds Model Shop, which is always out at Cross Gates. And they just got and then there was one on Dewsbury Road in Leeds, and that's just kind of how they just got to be known, where they are, rather than whatever the model shop names were. Because these days, internet-wise, you need to know what the names are, but because the local titles mean nothing on the internet. So there's 52 rings there, so I need another 104. Okay, that's closed down. Yeah, and then just another one's opened. Fair enough. It's it's a long time ago. I say 30 odd years. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. That's one lot of 52. So just put another 52 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51. And I only need 51. So we're done. There you go, you see, a Yorkshireman can count. Not very well, but he can count. So now I need to open these up, and then we can finish off the bracelet. Yeah, it surprises me. Shops, the shops that open, the shops that closed. It's about must be about 5 years ago now. I went back to the Leeds model shop, which is in Crossgates, and it's still in exactly the same place. It's still run by the same people, although I guess the son's running it now rather than the father, but they both work in the store, because I had a lengthy chat with them at the time, and it's expanded a little bit, which was surprising, because it used to be in newsagents when I was a kid, and they're still there, still selling stuff. See, I'm old enough now to go when I was a lad. Oh dear, so I'm still doing this off frame, aren't I? But just dear. Will the camera tilt over a little bit? See if I can try and keep it in frame. I can zoom out, but then of course you can't see so clearly what it is I'm doing. What have we got here? We've been going just over an hour. Okay. Here I'm looking around to see if I can see my clock, and I'm wearing a watch. I don't normally wear a watch, so I do often forget I've got it on. But I've been out this morning, it was useful to have a watch with me. So other than Train Simulator, you got anything interesting to do today, just Jessup, or? All the homework's done and things like that? I must remember tonight to actually have a look at Steam and see if any of the engines that I'm interested, or routes I'm interested in, are on sale. Got to be a bit careful though, because you can easily end up spending a lot of money on Train Simulator. Especially if you just I think it's my personal view, but Train Simulator wise, it's if you want to avoid spending a lot of money on the the downloadable content, the routes and trains that are available, try and make sure you master each train you've already got before you get another one. I know sometimes it can be a bit hard when there's a Steam sale and they're £1 or £2, but it soon adds up. And if you sort of do all the available scenarios for what you've got and then master them so you get a gold in everything, then it'll be quite a while before you feel like you need to buy some DLC to have new experiences. Oh, blimey. You mean Maplin actually sells some decent... that's a bit of a disparaging mark from me, because actually Maplin do sell some fairly decent stuff. So what did you get then? I don't normally like wearing headsets myself, because as you can see, the glasses, when I've got them over my ears, it presses the arms against my head, and unless they're very, very lightweight, and it gives me a headache, or at best, or a migraine at worst, usually with a headset. And it generally makes my ears really warm as well, which gets uncomfortable after a while. So if I do ever have, I do have a set of some headphones, and when I first started streaming I was wearing them because it was the only decent microphone I had, but I generally prefer to wear just sort of earbuds if I have to wear them at all. That was one of the drivers for wanting to get a separate microphone like I've got here now, with streaming, because having to wear the headset to get a decent mic sound was starting to annoy me. So I loaned myself enough money to get a microphone, and now I've got to save up to pay myself back. Razor Kraken. Oh, so the I was thinking at first they were a Maplin band headset, not yeah, Razor headset. Well, that kind of puts a different picture on it. They ought to be decent then, I guess. I think the word I was looking for earlier was Maplin stuff, generally speaking, is excellent for the price that you pay for it. It's probably the best way of describing it. So the last time I went around a Maplin store was in central London. I used to spend a lot of time down there with work, and it gets quite boring on an evening when you're by yourself. And I often used to just go walking around central London, and a lot of shops and bookshops I used to go in a lot used to be open late at night, and Maplin's did as well. So quite often spent an hour or two in a Maplin store just walking around the store, and no real intention to buy anything, but just looking at what they've got. Because I do find it quite useful sometimes, just to you either get inspiration or you for something, or it's a case of later on when you want something, remembering that you've seen it before. Don't always remember where, but just remembering that you've seen it is a main help. So I often shops like that, I'll often spend just electronic shops or hobby shops or craft shops. I'll just spend an hour walking around looking at what's there, with no intention really to buy anything, but just to see what's there and remember it the next time. Oh no. Oh, was that something happened when you plugged the monitor in? Got to have two monitors these days, at least two monitors. Can't really do without two monitors. I've got three here on this rig. Although I can only really ideally use two because one of them's in front of the other. But I've got a Wacom Cintiq monitor, which is my primary monitor, and it's got a tilt stand. So at the moment, when it's in sort of its upright position, it sits in front of one of my other monitors. So I've only, generally speaking, got two. But when I'm drawing, I tilt it down, and I've got three monitors available to me then. So it's quite useful. The only awkward thing is things like Train Simulator and Euro Truck Simulator and actually Farming Simulator does it as well. They all want to go full screen on my primary monitor, which is the big central Cintiq. But I don't want it on there. I want it on one of my secondary monitors, because my primary monitor's over there. And I'm sat here, and there's no space in front of the primary monitor. I can get about a keyboard there, and that's about it. I've got a nice space in front of me here, which you're looking at, to put things like a rail driver or the Logitech wheel. But that's right in front of my secondary monitor, which is the one I want to use, and they all insist on opening the primary. And I don't think one of them will let me actually specify which monitor I want it on. So I end up having to run them all in windowed mode and then try and make the window full screen. But it's not quite as good. I could mess around and make this little monitor to one side the primary monitor, but then I'd have to keep swapping it when I want to do things, because your primary monitor in Windows carries the toolbar at the bottom and the menu, and I prefer that on the central one. Well, yeah, you need the space. That's true. I actually have just enough space to get three 22-inch monitors on, but the Cintiq is a 26, and then it's got stuff around it as well, so it's like having a 32-inch monitor. So I can't quite get all three on this desk. Hence one in front of the other. Be safe though, you don't want them falling off and breaking. They can be quite tough, can the monitors, but equally well if the glass shatters on the front it goes everywhere. Right, we've almost finished opening all the rings that I want to open, and then we can finish this off. Ah, of course there is. I've just remembered there's yeah, there's another Maplin in Leeds, isn't there? Just by B&Q, by the White Rose Centre. That'll be the one you went to, I'm guessing, because that'll be closer. Next to the Burger King. Unfortunately, I don't like Burger King. Right. Yeah. God, I've got a good memory at times. Other times I've got an absolutely terrible memory. It's like I can remember it's there, but I can't actually remember the last time I went anywhere near the place. Two, you ought to see three. Although I admit it's the contrast isn't fantastic, but you ought to see three there. That's slightly out of focus as well, isn't it? Could do with focusing that a little bit. There we go. So what you ought to see is the orange, which is at either end. of the this section. You ought to then see some silver next to the orange, and right in the middle is a light sky blue. They are fairly sort of close together in colour. I admit. I can see them on the camera because I know what I'm looking for, but I can actually see on my feedback, and I can see them on the stream as well. But yeah, the blue starts there and it ends there. I suppose what I should have done is, to balance it out, is put a blue section of ring in there, but nah, what the heck. But yeah, so that's meant to represent the eye of a cat, of a ginger cat. So you've got the ginger hair on the other side, and then you've got the blue iris, if you like, and the silver, the whites of the eyes around the outside. Of course, I guess the reason you want to plug your second monitor in is that you can watch me on the second monitor whilst you do something else on the primary. Electric trains, yes, they are. Oh yeah, the pure electric. I've not really tried driving the steam engines yet, but I do like the electrics and the diesel electrics. So things like the 225 diesel electric, the high-speed train, and the I forgot what class it is, but is it the class 43? But the modern electric version of that, which got called the Electra. But there's all the little sort of diesel and electrical multiple units, sort of the two carriage trains, and as well as all the great big long ones. And if you try try to, if you like, learn the where you're supposed to actually stop on the platforms, and try and actually stop there without stopping early and having to pull forward and things like that, it can get really quite intensive trying to learn. And of course it's well, I find learning is fun. Kind of one reason why I do so many crafts is because I like learning how to do new things. No, we'll throw that ring away, which means I'm one short. I couldn't hold that one steady in the pliers and it kept twisting, and I scratched it. One of these days I'm going to find out what that sound is. I've been living here quite a number of years, and for as long as I can remember, like on Sunday afternoons, there's been a sound. It's a bit like a mechanical hammer going, sort of chuff 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 chuff. It's not a steam sound, but it's like just a knocking sound, regular. So regular it has to be mechanical, not somebody actually banging with a hammer or anything. And it just sounds so much like a mechanical hammer. It's just that sort of rhythm I can keep hearing, just at least because I'm just listening to it. I can't think what on earth would make that sort of noise. And it's sort of a slightly shushing noise, but it's very much like a mechanical saw or something like that. Perhaps, I don't know. Steam trains. Oh god, yeah. I haven't mastered steam trains. I've played with the steam trains, but by no means have I mastered them. Not even in simple mode, because you can put them in simple or expert mode. And with the expert mode, you have to do all your own fueling and water injection. And I've not tried that at all. But I can't remember what trains are in there. I'd love to. There's an I can't remember if there's any A4 Pacifics in there. That's Mallard is a famous A4 Pacific, and whilst I wouldn't know the difference, especially in Train Simulator, between Mallard and any of the others, I kind of would like to do drive that one, if only because it's the Steam record holder. It's the shape of the trains that actually interests me. I know some of the train simulator fans that can tell you everything about the engine and how many horsepower it's got and how much diesel you can fit in the tank or whatever. They can probably even tell you how many teeth there's on the drive wheel. But me, I just look at it and go, hey, that one looks nice. So things like the Deltics and which are the older ones, Class 66, the 125, the 225 electrics, that sort of thing. I just go, hey, it looks nice. But there's a couple of trains in there where you actually have to follow the real startup sequence of the engine. In terms of turning this on, turning that on, and turning a battery on, and heating, preheating, and all this sort of stuff. And I'd love to see more trains doing that, where you've actually got to start them up properly, rather than just press it. Press Control Z, I think it is, and the engine's running. I'd be more interested, because I think that's like flight. Some of the flight simulator stuff does that as well. Some of the planes, like from PMDG and one or two others, you take something like a 747, and you've actually got to go through in exact detail the exact startup sequence, the same as the real pilots do on the real 747s and whatever. I'd love it if that came to Train Simulator as well, on certainly on trains. I guess they'd have to make it optional for people who want to just push one button, but yeah, it just, yeah, they are I mean, there's a heck of a lot of skill to driving a steam engine. It's not. I mean, there's a lot of skill to driving an electric engine, but with the steam, because you're doing two in the simulator, you're doing two people's jobs. You're doing the fireman's job, whose job it is to maintain the steam, and you're doing the driver's job, of course, whose job it is to use the steam. And you've got to do both at the same time. But it's a lot more complicated as well, in terms of you've got a regulator. I've forgotten what it is. You've got two controls anyway that control the speed, and it's a bit like a gear. One of the controls is a bit like a gear control, and the other's more like the throttle, but they interact with one another. And the people that used to drive them for a living certainly had a lot of skill. I get fascinated by the signalling systems as well. So much so that at some point I do want to build myself an N-gauge model railway, which I may well do on a stream or on YouTube, one or the other. But I want to make it computer controlled, and I also want to put proper signalling in there. A lot of the modelers who put signals up there, either they just turn them on or off themselves, or at best they sequence them such that a train goes by and it goes to red, and then after a certain period of time it goes to yellow and then back to green. I would kind of like to have the whole layout set such that it was fully properly controlled, and so it goes to, the signal goes to red when you pass it, but it only goes back to orange when you pass the next signal, or when the train passes the next signal, and back to green only when there's a completely clear block. And that sort of thing has come from playing Train Simulator and learning how the signalling works. Well, this is moving quite quickly. Until you drop it on the desk. Eddie Fall Guy, good afternoon. How was the scout stuff? Did you get rained out yesterday? Because I was feeling you were doing something yesterday and preparing on Friday. So I'm doing another Byzantine, as you can see, with a pattern. So I've got a cat's eye in the middle of an otherwise orange orange necklace. I know it's out of focus back there, but you get the idea. You know what a Byzantine is, so I don't need to show you. Got some interesting colour variations on these orange rings. Got slightly different colours between two batches, but even in one batch, just one, you know, there's some rings which vary colour around the circumference of the ring. Thought at first it was the lighting, but I studied it carefully, and they go from a deep orange to almost a gold. Quite pretty, really. Oh, it's been raining all much. So much so that the lake broke its banks, blimey. I didn't think it'd rain that much. I've only seen rain overnight up in Yorkshire, or rather, I haven't seen the rain, but it has been overnight, and up here it didn't seem to have been that much. And just Jessup having protested that he wasn't going to get Train Simulator, and having watched Matt for about a week or so now, I think I've seen you in there, just finally succumbed to the Steam sale yesterday, Adi, and is busy piloting trains around the network at the moment, whilst also watching me. So we've just been having a discussion there about trains, and now onto signalling. You do need to learn signalling in Train Simulator, though. Otherwise, you'll be terminating a number of your scenarios really early. Because if you pass a red signal without permission, it stops. That's about it. Yeah, I'm going to do that after the stream. I keep forgetting. Okay, that ring is trying to escape. Has it succeeded? Nope. It almost succeeded. I have a green carpet. Orange rings on the green carpet. You'd think you'd be able to see them. Nah. In fact, that ring isn't even open. Yeah. So maybe that was another one that escaped when I wasn't looking. I always have a problem. I was going to say I had a problem at one time wondering what the flashing yellows were. Okay, that's okay. I had to look that one up to do with that's to do with the high-speed trains. I can't actually remember what it means, but And then the German signalling is different again. It's similar but different. And the American signalling, I have no idea about. Well, the fact that it's getting away from me or something, yeah. Well, creature of habit, you see. It's almost as though they do try and escape though, because the way they shoot off and then they hide. We humans are prone to anthropomorphism. That's applying human emotions to inanimate objects. So do the Scouts have a chainmail badge then, AD? Or is it just creating things? It never was in the Scouts. Actually, I don't think I was in anything else. Church Lads Brigade, I think, where I was when I was young. I was probably in that for a little while for some reason I don't recall now, but I don't think that lasted very long. I was just wondering whether you managed to get your hobby integrated in their AD or not, or so your business as well as hobby. Your computer shut down again, just Jessup. I'd go have a look for. Let's see if I've got something around. See if I can remember. The package. Just having a look through overclock. That's yeah. There was a couple of applications, and I hope that didn't disrupt the stream. Something called Core Temp, I think it was. Does this one give me? No, that's not giving me temperatures. Okay, so Yeah, well, there's probably more, but I've got one of the freeware packages I've got here. It might even be public domain. I'm not sure. It's one called Core Temp that gives you the CPU core, the actual temperature sensor values off the CPU cores. Like for example, mine here are all running. Well, most of them are running around 50 degrees. 4950, and they're fairly static at that because I've got water cooling, so they're quite static. That would be quite useful for you to pick up or something like that, a copy of Just Jessup, and if you've got something that'll also read the motherboard sensors for something like case temperature as well, because you could be if your case temperature is too high, then your CPU cooler will never basically be able to work properly. So it might be worth you seeing what you can find. Be careful with installing stuff though, of course. You want to make sure it's good and clean, and isn't going to install lots of stuff that you don't want, especially because for reading things like the CPU core temperatures, you have to give it or allow it administrator access to your PC, which means it can do absolutely anything. So you kind of got to trust them. But if you can read those, and if your PC's going to shut down like that, if you just if you run it and just keep an eye on it, and then you'll see if the temperatures are climbing, and then if your PC shuts down, you'll know roughly where to start looking. On the other hand, it could be surprised, is it shutting down gracefully, or is it just literally just turning off? Because it could be the power supply that's overheating as well. Could be your power supply that's a problem. Because I'm thinking actually most of the over temperatures, I mean the Intel CPUs will throttle back quite considerably to reduce heat, and I think they may even shut cores down. I can't remember. And I'm sure the AMD processors will do the same thing. They'll throttle back quite considerably. But I would kind of expect them to do something like a memory segmentation fault, or a general protection type fault. So you blue screen more than you'd actually shut down. So I didn't think the motherboards had the ability to just arbitrarily kill power. So it may well be a power supply overheat. So you may want to check if your power supply fan's running. And then again, that's sort of commensurate with running intensive applications as well, because you demand more power with more intensive applications. Yeah, that's the sort of thing, AD. Some of them will keep a log as well, which can be useful if they literally just shut off instantly. I mean, I know what effectively there's a green wire on the power supply bundle, and if that's not grounded, your power supply just instantly shuts down. But I'm not sure motherboards did that sort of thing. If it keeps doing it as well, and it is a heat problem, then if you immediately start it up again, it won't take as long to overheat. So you might find the more you the more you start it up, the sooner it is before it shuts down again. Fear Big Daddy, good afternoon. Welcome to the studio this afternoon. So what's up? Well, the sky's up. Some aeroplanes are up. What else is up? Some clouds. I'm making a necklace out of jump rings, and there's all sorts of discussion. Well, all sorts. There's a varied discussion going on in chat. We were talking about train simulator, rail signalling, overheating PCs, which is a problem that, well, potentially a problem that Just Jessup has got there. It could be something else completely, but I was thinking along the lines of like a memory problem, but I probably wouldn't do that in your machine. On servers, they if there's a memory problem, they often just turn off, just to preserve memory. But generally speaking, home users don't run error-corrected memory, so all that happens generally is you'll get an application fault if the memory starts going off, so it's unlikely to be that. Well, as I totally don't trust my maths, I'm going to see how long this is. "15" okay, so another 2.5 inches. Okay, 84 guy, have a good evening, see you later. Fear Big Daddy, did I ever finish the dragon? Not quite, no. I'll show you. We're almost finished actually. If I can just get out of my little place there. Zoom the camera out a little bit. That's currently what it's looking like, even though it's not focused. So let me focus this. There we go. Zoom out a little bit more. We're quite close to finishing it at the moment. So last night we were undercutting the wings. I've got a bit more to do on this wing, I've just realised. undercut it a little bit more, so that it makes the wings look like they're standing off from the background. So as you can see, you can get your fingers underneath them. They're not totally separated, but they are. They've got enough to fool the eye from a reasonably close inspection. And then I've got the background, some more work on this background just to flatten it off and reduce some of the tooling marks that are there. But we should finish that. I don't know about tonight, on tonight's stream, maybe tomorrow. We're very close to doing it. I do sell some of it, or I'm prepared to sell some of it for you, Big Daddy. Some pieces are personal, and other pieces are just available to be sold. And if anybody wants something specific doing, I'm quite prepared to take a look at it. So you're seeing 0 next to CPU 0. If it's the only one reading 0, if the others are reading 0 as well, then your application isn't reading it properly. It shouldn't be reading 0. So if it's the only one, it would seem that that sensor is perhaps faulty, because there's no way it would read 0 with the other cores. Because a die just, it spreads the heat out. And I am in the process of trying to build a website, and then I don't know, maybe either sell stuff direct from there, or maybe start an Etsy shop, or perhaps do both. I have nowhere currently available for your Big Daddy to display anything. Are you interested in anything in particular, or is it just a general question? Are you just, so you're only just, all you're seeing is just CPU 0. It's not showing you any more CPUs just, Jessup. That strikes me as the application's not working properly, because I don't, unless you've got a really old machine. Most machines have at least 2 CPU cores for a good many years. I'm thinking even well, easiest question. What CPU have you got in the machine? Is it an Intel i3, i7, something like that? You say it's a bit difficult to tell whether. I know you said the machine's obsolete now; they don't make it anymore, but things can go out of sale fairly quickly. If it's any of the i series, there should be at least 2 cores. Anything older than that, I'm not 100% sure about. One other thing I'm trying to remember now. I think I think the BIOS often has a temperature monitor display in it as well. Now obviously you can't get to the BIOS without rebooting the machine, so potentially next time it crashes it switches off just Jessup. If it does, boot it up into the BIOS and see if there's a monitor screen, because you've just done it fairly soon afterwards. You might be able to get an idea what the temperature was, because the cores will take a little while to cool off. You know, so if they're up at sort of 90 degrees or something, then that might point the way. AMD A10. I thought. I don't really know. I'd have to look it up, but I've got a feeling that's got 3 cores in it. I'll have a look in a second. Let me just put this ring on. Let's do a quick search. It's a full. Well, it's the information I've just had a quick look at suggests it's a 4-core. So you should be seeing seeing at least 4-core registered information. Yeah, quad core. Yeah, it's a quad core. So you should be seeing. I'm fairly well. It should tell you more than 1 core, even if it's only giving you temperatures. I think AMD would almost certainly do the same thing as Intel do, and you'd have a core temperature for each core. But it should tell you you've at least got 4 of them, even if it doesn't tell you individual temperatures on them, just Jessup. So that's 15, so yeah, I've got a bit more to do yet. I just need to refocus this camera, won't I now? Zoom a little bit, refocus, because I think that's about it. Ah, you found one. That's good. Yeah, so you've got the whole package there then that can help you if it is temperatures there that should help you see where it is. Just Jessup, of course. Yeah, as the temperatures, you should see the fans ramp as well. Because the fans should either be on full speed or they're controlled by temperature. So if you're seeing high temperatures and low fan speeds, it could be that you've got a fan set manually in the BIOS, for example, where it should be automatic. So it's going to be a case of see if the application will log things for you. The temperature of around 14. I don't know. That could be if that's supposed to be a temperature measurement, I'd be awfully suspicious of it being 14 degrees. So it's possible that it's level 14. You might have to see if there's any instructions or help with the application that'll give you that indication of what it is, or you might just have to do some web searching. But either way, I guess to some extent it doesn't matter what it actually reads, because what you're looking for, of course, is for it to keep going up and not level off and stay at a particular level. If it keeps going up and up and up, then of course you've got an indication then that it's not cooling enough. If they're staying stable, then maybe it's something else. Right, let's have a look at how long this is. So that's 15 to there. That's 16 to there. So I want another set that'll take it to 17, and then we'll put the clasp on. That should take it to 17 and a half. Since this is about half an inch long. This, by the way, is the clasp. When I said this, So I'll just put a double ring on here. That should be the end of the necklace. And then we'll check and see whether it's the right way round to attach the that large silver ring to, or whether I need to put another ring in as an extra. Okay, some change, they'll take a twist, but generally speaking, what you're trying to do when you finish off a bracelet or a necklace is that it will lie flat. So here, for example, this T-bar, which would lie, you'd want it to lie, you know, flat on your skin like that. You won't want it to be trying to come up on its end. You know, it just wouldn't be very nice. So you want it to lie flat. So the that means that the chain, if you want it to lie flat, and I'm trying really hard to show you, let me put it down on the desk. If you want it to lie flat without twisting the chain, then sort of yeah, can't get my fingers. So the chain needs to lie like this. So what I'm going to do is just make sure there's no twist in this chain, and I've already missed, there we go, start again, just check I've not done it wrong. Yep, so make sure there's no twist. Okay, and when I do that, what I see is that these rings are horizontal, they're laid flat on, the last rings are laid flat on the desk, and so is that. So what I should be able to do is just put a single ring through both of these, and the chain will be completely flat, and both the T-bar at this end and this hoop at this end will both be flat and parallel to one another. So that means the whole chain will lie flat on somebody's neck without trying to twist itself. So there we are, one complete necklace. Like that. Should be a 17.5-inch chain as well. Now let's just see if I have got this symmetrical. Not quite. I need to move one set over. I'll in practice take one set off and build it on the other side. So So one side of the necklace was about as well, I'm just trying to work out the actual length, but one side of the necklace was about 1/4 of an inch longer than the other. Sorry, about 1/2 an inch longer than the other side. The overall length was okay, but one side shorter than the other. I want them to be symmetrical, so I need to move it over. Yeah, so on this side here I need to add another block in, and then we'll have to see what we need to straighten up. So quality control in action. You see, I could have just left it, but I want them to be both sides to be the same. Whilst I'm not particularly OCD, I'm sure some people would be, and it would drive them potty if they weren't exactly the same length on both sides, which they now are. So we've got the T-bar here, which we'll put on one side. Okay. Actually, I'm going to put the little T-bar. I'm going to put the eye on there. And then I'll see whether which is the flat direction. So just feeding this through my fingers, keeping an eye on what's the top surface. So that when I get to this side, yeah, thought it would be. So the T-bar wants to be parallel to these two, which is quite nice because I can just put a single ring through them, and that will mean the T-bar is horizontal. And there we go. Symmetrical chain. Like that. It's a bit debatable when you come to fasten it as to, because the both orange things are now the same length, but in practice when you put that on like that, there's a slight difference in distance from the T-bar to the centre. This is slightly longer than that, but you can't have symmetry in both sections. But there we go. One 17.5 inch Byzantine weave necklace with a cat's eye section at the bottom. Phantom Blitz, good afternoon, welcome to the studio. You're doing really well if your cores are running at 30, 35, 39 degrees. Just Jessup, really well indeed. That suggests your room temperature is really cold. If those are true temperatures. Normally 10 to 20 degrees difference between your room temperature and your CPU core would be really good. So you're talking about running at 40 degrees there. You're talking about a room temperature at at best at being 20 degrees. I think your calibration's a bit off, but it doesn't matter actually. It really doesn't matter. What you're looking for is it climbing. So if it's holding still at 39 with train sim running, keep an eye on it. Keep train sim running, and you will shut down. Well, if it does shut down on you, hopefully you'll see what's happening on it at the time. You know, see whether the temperature spikes. If it doesn't, then it's something else. It peaked at 64. Generally speaking, around about 100 degrees will shut down. Intels tend to do that. That tends to be the maximum, although I think you can set the maximum in the BIOS that you're after. So again, that might be something that's worth checking, that your BIOS isn't set extremely low. Yeah, but you kind of having to investigate now where the problem lies. If it's, you know, if you are running 39 or even at 64 is not that excessive really. If it's 64 degrees, that's not bad. If it's stable, and it's stable like that even when it shuts down. So I'm looking at your thing. When it shuts down, if it's stable like that when it shuts down, then that's your core temperature is unlikely to be the problem, and your core cooler is unlikely to be the problem. But even with the window open, I mean, I've got windows open here. 22 degrees. I mean, with a water cooling rig, and water cooling is often the better one ultimately. It's a lot more work, but 20 degrees difference between CPU and air temperature is a really good result to achieve. That's quite a lot of cooling. So standard air cooling often isn't as good as water cooling, but it can be depending on just what you do and how you do it and everything else. So as I was saying, I've got the windows open here. Okay, I'm not where you are. Outside temperature is probably around 20 degrees. I think 22 here in the studio. So it kind of it's in the right sort of ballpark, shall we say? But it's I think probably the calibration's a bit off. But as I say, it doesn't really matter. Phantom Blitz, yeah, laptops are very restricted in their airflows, and they use a lot of tricks like heat pipes and things like that to move the heat closer to the outside. And generally speaking, your laptop gets uncomfortably hot for you to have it on your knee before they get to the point of wanting to shut themselves down. Because I mean, you get something at 75 degrees on your knee, it's really hot. But it wouldn't potentially be enough to shut the machines down. Just Jessup's got a problem where his machine just turns off, no apparent reason. The heat was a suspect. If he truly is stabilised at a temperature, whether it's 39 or whether it's 60, whatever it is, if it truly is stabilised when he's playing, particularly when he's playing this game, then that's that seems unlikely to be the heat problem. But yeah, laptops can have a problem, especially if you really hammer them, because laptops are generally are built for light duty, shall we say. They're not really meant to be flat out gaming rigs. But I know my laptop that I use for work, for example, and I don't use it. It's not flat out, and it's not a fast machine. But after a couple of hours, if that's on my knee, it's uncomfortable to have it there. So yeah, so keep an eye on it, Jessup. That's really all you can do, and see whether see as I say, if it's stabilised. That seems to be unlikely. It's not likely to be GPU, because you'd have GPU resets, so it's not likely to be that. The sort of the next possible culprit is your power supply. Power supply. I don't know if your program gives you your power supply temperature. Some do, some don't, and that's mainly because some power supplies don't provide that information. 56. Yeah, again, keep an eye on it. It's the sudden rise, or it's the real peaks that you're looking for. If it's sat at 56 now and it stays at 56, you're looking for where it stabilises. If it doesn't and it just keeps climbing, then you probably want to do something about cooling. If it does stabilise, you probably want to look at something else in there. I said power supply will be the next favourite thing, I think. Perhaps it overheating and shutting off. They're a bit harder to sort of monitor it anyway. It may only be a case of swapping it out, if that's the case, and it might or might not be a problem. Intermittent faults like this are a real pain in the necks to find, especially if you don't have any spare kit lying around that you can just substitute bits for. Anyway, it's coming up to 6 o'clock here. I finished my necklace, so I'm going to close the stream down for a little while. I'll be back later on in probably in about 2 hours time, when I'll be doing some more carving on the dragon. We're close to finishing that, so we may get it finished tonight, may do it tomorrow night, we'll see. I mean, no real hurry to do it either, to finish it, if you know what I mean. I'm not going to rush it. So we'll see how that goes. So if there's anybody who is still watching that couldn't tell you, just Jessup, I'm afraid, on that respect. You might have to do some searching on the internet or on forums to see with that application that you're using, if it tells you anywhere what that reading is. Yes, if you're watching, I'd encourage you to follow, of course, so that you get to know when I go live. You can also follow me on Twitter. The details are below the stream window. They'll also be on the end plate in a minute, but fairly simply, it's @Zaraganat. And if you just want to catch me again, I say in about 2 hours time, I generally stream every night of the week, 7 nights a week, from 8 PM in the UK. That's 1900 hours, or in roughly 2 hours time each night. So thank you everybody for being around. It's been great fun, and I'll see if I can have a look, just Jessup, but otherwise good luck with it, and maybe we'll catch up a little bit later on. Cheers everybody.